So recently with one of my clients I work with on a monthly basis for their environmental compliance, we were assessing all of their different waste streams, one of which was the filters from their aerosol puncture unit kit system. So, when you have aerosols, you can either just throw them into drums or containers, suitable containers as is, and call it universal waste aerosols, or you can use a puncture unit kit. In this facility, it made most sense for them to puncture their aerosols because they just generated so many of them on a regular basis. That was the most cost-effective and space-effective way to do it. But that does leave them with another new waste stream. So they were puncturing only paint cans. So here in Texas, of course, aerosols are universal waste, but hazmat paints are also universal waste here in Texas. So when they're puncturing those aerosols and it's all paint related, everything within that drum is paint related, universal paint waste. It's all hazmat paint. That includes the filter. So the filter requires proper disposal as well. We see that all the time with a lot of facilities where they dispose of those in the trash. They don't realize it, they chuck it in the dumpster. Failing to realize it also requires proper classification because it's been sitting there absorbing all of these fumes, all of these vapors this entire time. So the last thing we want to do is put it into the trash. So basically we went to my client's waste vendor and was like, hey, we've got a new waste stream. It's universal waste, paint and paint related materials. It's the spent filter from their puncture unit system because they need to change it out like every 6 months based on use, just how much they use it. Well, the vendor came back, the waste vendor, and we went back and forth. They were trying to say that would be considered hazardous waste because it's a result of treatment, which I didn't agree with. We went back and forth a few times. It wasn't going anywhere. So, of course, I did what I had to do and just reached out to TCEQ, and I'll read you what I said in my email here. So essentially, I reached out to TCEQ and said, hey, I am reaching out to request clarification on the regulatory status of spent filters from an aerosol puncture unit. My understanding is as follows, based upon RG 370, which is a TCEQ guidance document, and 30 TAC 335 262B. If an aerosol puncture unit is dedicated exclusively to puncturing paint aerosols, the resulting paint filter from the puncture unit would be considered a material contaminated with paint. Because the filter is a byproduct of managing universal paint waste, it would retain the paint-related regulatory status and would be eligible for management as a universal paint-related waste. And that's what the vendor was arguing with me about. Okay, now this next question, they just verify basically saying, hey, if you're puncturing mixed aerosol streams, that spent filter is thus not going to be qualified as universal waste anymore, and it's going to be hazardous waste. But it is important to note when we say treatment, treatment generally means that it was designed to change the physical, chemical, or biological characteristic of the hazardous waste. So in the case of puncturing aerosol cans, there's actually a specific note saying the puncturing, crushing, or shredding of non-empty aerosol cans, which contains hazardous waste, does not constitute treatment, pursuant to 26010. So even if you are puncturing aerosol cans at your facility and it does go out, the resulting material is hazardous waste, it's mixed waste stream, it's still not going to be considered treatment. So you're really going one of two ways with an aerosol puncture unit kit. If you're only puncturing paint cans, you could send out the material in the drum and your filters, your spent filters, as universal paint waste. If you're mixing cans, different types of aerosols, as well as paint waste, let's say, too bad, you're back in hazardous waste territory. What's in the drum is hazardous waste, and 10 to 1, that filter is also hazardous waste. And you can't really sample these filters with how they're constructed, so it's really just based off of things like process knowledge, safety data sheets, etc. So, just wanted to share that little tidbit with you guys in case you ever run into this or get any pushback, or maybe you're wondering, what are we doing with our, filters at our facility? Great question to ask yourself. Walk your whole facility. Look around at any of your pollution control devices, any of your, hydraulic systems, etc. All those things probably have filters, and you need to get with maintenance or whoever services those items and make sure it's being properly handled, classified, identified, goes for the correct disposal or recycling, etc.